And we are in the GOATS meta, so it is going to be the Winston GOAT starting out for Global Esports Pantheon, and the Ryan version of that for PHOENiX straight out of the gate. Water back on Brigadier duty.
We do have Vendetta on the Zarya. He played it very effectively last week, so we'll have to see if they can repeat that success. And already, Global Esports Pantheon taking a bit too much hurt. They actually want to change things up here.
They are going to change Inhyuk now over to the Hammond. A lot of changes actually. The Pharah I was considering maybe an option here because PHOENiX are playing the Ryan version. A lot more difficult for them to actually deal with water in the sky.
A slightly more limited angle to get onto that point with the Pharah, but it's not that bad. Inhyuk going right in, takes a lot of hurt, barely gets out alive. They did at least contest it, but it's looking like PHOENiX will get the cap. Now, keeping it up with the contest. Now they cycle Inhyuk back in. No, the PHOENiX have actually got the point over, and now Global Esports Pantheon are waiting for ultimates.
Another problem there is because Inhyuk gets so low so easy, they need to be able to find the hack and the damage output to find a player kill while Inhyuk is still healthy. As soon as they have to get off the point, they have no way to effectively challenge it.
Water and Kadalis both are actually charging up these ults quite quickly. They'll probably give away roughly 25 to 30%, but they will soon have an opportunity to properly attack here.
Just waiting for that rocket barrage. It's going to be the primary ultimate here. Already up to 90.
That is low.
And nearly the nano boost for backwall as well, so a lot of options here for Pantheon.
Yeah, that was very nicely done. They just kind of forced them off by going in from behind. They only commit the two ultimates there, the nano boost and the rocket barrage, and PHOENiX gives up his mech to try and block out the remainder of it, but all for naught. GE Pantheon have the point.
Hey, look at PHOENiX here, only just coming online with the Transcendence now. They didn't have either of the support ultimates in the previous fight, so having either of those might have saved them in that actual fight. But going into this next one, Melon's changed himself onto the Winston. Again, this is going to just give them a little bit more ability to deal with how Global Esports are playing, especially against Water, but also defensively against someone like Inhyuk on the Hammond.
Global Esports have set themselves up very nicely here, though, for a good defense. Nice sleep on Vendetta as well. Just gives Water a bit more time to charge Rocket Barrage.
Should be an EMP at any point here. I'd expect right now.
Detected. Yeah, nice. Right on top of the lot of them. The minefield does go down from Inhyuk, just in case they wanted to approach it. But again, two ultimates for the fight win. You've got to take that as Global Esports.
There's still no ults used by PHOENiX, and were able to be used in the last fight because they all got caught by the EMP, sick place from Kadalis. But now going into the next fight, you have to start kind of favoring PHOENiX here. The grab setup's going to be important. There's no grab on the side of Global Esports. SYC's definitely got his work cut out for him if he wants to be able to stop this one. And Kadalis going down early as well. I expect Painsaw and Ilsubi, with the fact that they have double defensive support ultimates, to be able to survive a lot of the power out of Global Esports this attack.
It also stops the kind of stopgap measure of hacking out PHOENiX before Rocket Barrage. SYC gets taken out of the mech. At least trades one back though. Yeah, there's the block out from PHOENiX as expected, and this is not going great for Global Esports Pantheon. And PHOENiX, this has been very low economy. This is their first ultimate of the fight, and it's just to keep these members healthy as they chase Global Esports Pantheon back to spawn.
And they've got the cap as well, which means they've been just collecting progress this entire time. They managed to bait the barrage out. Vendetta dies before he gets to use the Graviton Surge. They still manage to hold on to the cap. Now he gets to come back, still has the Graviton Surge. As long as he maintains his distance, keeps himself safe, and makes sure he plays around SYC, this should be another fight win if it's a good grab.
Still got a little ways to go on that EMP. Actually, as I say that, getting the extra damage, and Kadalis has got it available. There's going to be the minefield down from Inhyuk onto the point, so PHOENiX do pay respect to that, give it some space. Melon takes a bit too much hurt and goes down, and Water really pumping in the damage from the side, caught in a grab. Nicely done by Vendetta to get the Pharmacy duo there, and with that, they've kind of swung the fight back the other way. And that was not a cheap one for Global Esports, it was a cheap one for PHOENiX.
And we're in the sort of stage of the map now, heading into the 90% mark. You look at PHOENiX, they still have ultimates. No ultimates for Global Esports. They need to play up against an EMP, and they have no defense capabilities whatsoever. Water has to stay alive. He has to get a rocket barrage. If he can't do that, they're going to lose.
And they're in that same tricky situation where Kadalis needs to hack PHOENiX, who's actually got the hack, but Water is not ready on the barrage. They'll need to find that one again.
Where's the EMP?
Six in trouble here. Yeah, he's going to be popped out of the mech before they can even approach the fight, and I think he was bumped off the edge at the end of that. Just a preemptive EMP as Kadalis tries to come in for an approach here. Just really takes the wind out of the sails for Global Esports Pantheon, and now it's all just cleanup. Excellently handled by PHOENiX, just keeping in control of the ult economy after making that change up to the Winston Goats.
And a couple of members even went down there for Global Esports before Water had a chance to use that barrage, ends up using it. Unfortunately, nothing really happens there. It was going to be a Hail Mary play anyway, but PHOENiX Esports, they're able to just kind of set themselves up for that final cap. They already had a little bit of extra progress to play with from the initial fight wins, reacting to what Global Esports are going to come through with their comp changes. putting Melon onto the Winston to stop himself from just getting bumped into the air time and time again by Inhyok's Hammond. That was a nice little change. Victorious in going onto Sombra towards the end of the game and finishing it off with the EMP is exactly the kind of setups that allows PHOENiX to take that early stage.
The thing is, Global Esports Pantheon were off to such a good start after making the swap off Goats. Didn't quite get the finisher on it though, so let's see how they choose to approach this one, because now we are on Control Center, which has a almost mandatory.
So the difference here is Backwall's going to be playing the Ana versus PHOENiX, which is playing the Zenyatta version. The difference you have to note here is the Discord Orb for PHOENiX, very important for taking down Inhyok, but the Ana Bionate is going to be very important for just denying the healing for PHOENiX overall. That has got to be the key play you have to watch from Backwall.
And the slight variation here could be what makes or breaks either of these teams. Inhyok goes down for the point, charges in, goes wide. Now they're a little bit isolated. Oh yeah, nice catch. That is the death of Inhyok.
Melon's still alive.
Of that grenade. They trade one back on Melon at last, but it took him so long to die. That Bionade out onto Pixie, not ideal here. That Discord Orb was just too much for Inhyok to take.
Speaking of not ideal, you see the way Global Esports actually begin their attack there, going through that upper space into that dark room, then dropping down. They're actually not in a sort of grouped up position. They're dropping into the middle of PHOENiX. Straight away, Inhyok charges in, dies straight away as well, gets punished. No ability to get followed up upon. And for PHOENiX, they just fall apart so quickly. They took a long time to get Melon down, and because it took them a long time, they couldn't quite break through that initial front line.
Backwall's made a change here, so they're behind in the ult economy. PHOENiX coming up on a grab here. They will want to commit. Might not even need to, actually, as Backwall goes down. Vendetta, he might just want to play a bit conservative here. Good trade back, but they find Inhyok, and then the rest start to fall down. Vendetta doesn't need to use the grab there. Could have used it to secure the fight a bit easier, but I do like the discipline.
Now Kadalis is working his way up to his own grab, but the big difference here is in support ultimates. Backwall only just changes his got a fight to go. That's an Earth Shadow though, only catches one.
Yeah, that was a bit of a rescue from PHOENiX. He used the self-destruct, got caught out. Melon tried to save that one. Instead, they just used two ultimates for nothing, and now actually Global Esports Pantheon have been able to flip the point back.
Nice catch onto Melon. Nice bait from the ultimate as well. Now PHOENiX, they have to come back and grab still in effect, but it is the difference in support ultimates. Pacel can counter.
Oh, nice Earth Shatter dead on top of Vendetta. Now there's going to be the grabs to come out. They catch Kadalis. Nicely done. And unfortunately, I think Kadalis' own grab got eaten with that. PHOENiX just cleaning up these remaining members. Very low on ultimates. You would have favored Pantheon there, but PHOENiX able to find a way to take that fight back.
Well, the thing is, for Pantheon, even if they had landed the grab, you still have that sound barrier available from Ilsubi, which he doesn't have to use now. Medic and Backwall only just now working up towards their own support ultimates. This fight, you really do start to kind of favor Global Esports going in. Neither side has a grab, neither side has an Earth Shadow just yet, but watch at Melon, he might still get one.
Self-destruct forward, but no bash to block the Reinhardt shield. Melon even finds water as he was looking for that bash. Very nicely done, and then Inhyok down. Again, good cheap bites coming out of PHOENiX here. That was only a sound barrier used. They do actually commit an Earth Shatter late in the fight, just for the sake of cleanup, but pushing up to 80% now. Can't say I blame them.
Earth Shatter, though, you did kind of want to save for this next fight because you do need a win condition to get over that 90% mark and get to the 99. With Vendetta down as well, which is going to slow down the Graviton surge charge rate. Kadalis can now actually catch up and swing things back around for Global Esports, as they still do have double support ultimates. You're expecting them to win this next fight. They do have more ultimates available.
Coming up on an Earth Shatter as well. Going to try and look for an angle in it. They have been able to get Vendetta back in it. There's the Earth Shatter. Does not get the connection as Backwall commits to Transcendence. Pacel still has his Medic. Also still has Sound Barrier. Now Pacel commits his own Transcendence. There's the grab from Kadalis. Self-destruct forward out of Poe. We've got nothing, but Vendella's nearly charged his grab. This could be the one that defines it, because so far all these big ultimates have not connected, and it does catch a number, and the Earth Shatter to lay it down. Melon does unfortunately go down, but they are in the driver's seat of this fight, and now they drop Medic and Kadalis. They did lose the point cap partway through that one, but it does not matter. At 99%, they will get the cap back, and GE Pantheon too far away from this one to contest. I believe they should be able to keep any shock away. That's going to be PHOENiX taking out Lijiang Tower.
And PHOENiX, they had the better starts and they had the better finishes. Right in the middle, they did swap hands a little bit in terms of the actual capture point itself, but they won significantly more, well, 2 out of 2 really. For PHOENiX, those opening engages, which gets them that opening cap as well. And then towards the end, when you look at who's got the ultimates, when you look at who actually has the correct setup to finish things off, aside from a little bit of clunkiness at the end there from PHOENiX, where they did drop Vendetta, didn't quite charge up the grab as quickly as they wanted to, they still got it in time. They didn't lose too many members when they hit the 99% overtime, and they still were able to finish out with that ultimates in a very similar way to how they finished out Gardens. EMP onto everybody on the global esports side. Just a rocket barrage out of water isn't going to do enough. They have the ability to just close out these games, and that's what's going to give them the 2-0.
And it does really feel like there were two major swing points there, one for each map, and both were when global esports Pantheon had ultimates, had an ultimate advantage even, but didn't get them off the way they needed to, didn't get the ideal connection. And I believe in one of the cases it was because they actually lost their D.Va at a very inopportune time just to layer on top of it all. But we saw it also at the end there with the Goats v Goats. They had an ultimate advantage. They were in a good position. They even landed the grab. They just didn't get the follow-up. And when you compare that to Vendetta's grab and then the very quick follow-up out of PHOENiX, I mean, if that's the difference between these two teams, then you've got to say PHOENiX deserves to win it. Because if they're not dropping those fights, then, I mean, that's how the game's going to fall inevitably.
And it's also up to PHOENiX as well when you look at the way they're playing and adapting to what global esports are bringing to the table here. First of all, you have on Gardens, they have the change up onto the Hammond and also the Fire as well. They had a lot of swaps going into that second fight. And for a team like PHOENiX, they're holding their ground and they're saying, okay, well, what do we need to do about this? They change one member onto a Winston, and suddenly that just completely shifts their playstyle and gives them a lot more ability to just deal with everything that global esports have. Secondly, you go on to Control Center. You sort of look at, okay, there's going to be an Ana played here instead of a Zenyatta. We know what our advantages and our win conditions are. Then on top of that, you have global esports trying to roll out what I want to say is, you know, in a non-standard way. Like usually two teams just fight each other onto the platform in the middle there. But this time around, global esports wanted to go up to the top and drop down. And for a team like PHOENiX, they just reacted to it well. They just said, okay, we're just going to find the player that's out of position here. Straight away, Melon charges in. They get that kill, they snowball, they win.
And curiously, I think actually it was being on that top platform that was the death knell. I may be mistaken, but you saw when he dropped down, he actually angled his shield downward rather than keeping it in front of him. And what was interesting about that is it gave the Zenyatta an opportunity to get the Discord orb on him before the charge. And just that little bit of extra time where you can get that damage in as the charge starts to channel before it's at risk of catching anyone did actually have a decent effect. He still survived the charge, moved back a little bit, but he was too low at that point, couldn't get healed back up because everyone else was only just kind of adjusting and getting into position, having only recently dropped down. So, and that's the thing with identifying their win condition of a Discord orb on a high-impact tank like that and being able to take them out before ultimates is a factor, not something we see a lot of in those Goats v Goats fights at the start of games. And that really just kind of set the pace for the whole match.
And that's why you see the difference between Melon and Inhyuk as well, because Inhyuk didn't really go down.
It took a long time to die.
He just stayed alive for so long.
Other way around, I think.
Sorry, Melon stayed alive for so long, whereas Inhyuk went down straight away. And Melon, he even though he was on a sliver of HP, it's the difference between the Discord orb and not having the Discord orb. And just because he stays, it's only like 5 seconds that he stays alive longer for. But it's 5 seconds where he holds up a massive shield, where he's mitigating a ton of damage. You're not breaking through that front line. That's what really gives him the win. And that's just the big difference that Discord orb does. And unless you're the Ana that lands a really fantastic Bionade that just hits a bunch of people that can guarantee kills, you're not going to be able to swing the fight, and you'd rather have a Zenyatta there, which is why you see Backwall change back onto the Zenyatta pretty quickly.
We're also seeing a really nice kind of reactionary thing coming out of some of these Reinhardts as well. When Earth Shatters are available, naturally the Brigitte wants to get up, stun the opposing Reinhardts that your Earth Shatter can go through. We're seeing a lot of Reinhardts starting to play around that a bit more. We've seen a lot more focus on the Brigitte because the thing is, the moment she steps forward towards you, you know exactly what they're trying to do. It's very, very telegraphed. That is an ideal target to try and get an Orb of Discord on if you've got the angle, to throw out a quick Fire Strike because they're holding the Shatter for the bash. They're not necessarily anticipating you dropping the shield to Fire Strike. There's a decent chance they'll miss that opportunity, and the risk of doing that pays off because if the bash connects, then it's a guaranteed hit on the Earth Shatter, whereas dropping the shield for the Fire Strike, at worst, I'd say it's 50-50 right now. When Reinhardt start to adapt to that tech, then suddenly this is all going to shift around again.
And here you start to see some of the intricacies in the 3-3 goats versus goats here. And a lot of posturing goes into those intricacies. And speaking of posturing, let's see what we've got lined up for the next map as well. Hybrid is going to be coming up next, which is going to be a potential now for Global Esports to make some changes into their lineup. Last week we saw Kadala stay on with Water until map 3, and Spanic came in for Horizon Lunar Colony. Let's take a look at what the next map is going to be, though. Hollywood is now on the board.
Loving it. And interestingly enough, both of our hybrid maps in the pool right now, Hollywood and Numbani, both very much favor a bunker comp on the point A defense. We've seen a very high pick rate of bunker comps. I don't know that it's quite 100%. I think we've seen one or two Winston goats on that defense, but again, when we're talking about flexibility of teams, this is an opportunity for teams who can play a very strong bunker composition to pull it out and get a bit of an edge over their opponents. Same thing kind of stands for that middle section. In fact, we only really see a lot of goats on the closing sections of these hybrid maps, and that middle section is even somewhere we could actually see a Widowmaker.
It is, and that should make you excited for a couple of reasons, but you'll just have to wait until we get into game to see if that is going to be realized or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's Kefri, and he's going to be pulling out the Widowmaker. I mean, yeah. How could you not?
Unless this is going to be a quick change, but I don't think it's going to be. It could well be. I was going to say, Hollywood is one of the few maps in this current map pool, in this current meta, that still really favors Widowmaker, or at least isn't a bad map for Widowmaker. You can make Widowmaker really work here, and it's going to be Water onto Sombra as well, now onto the Fire. So see what this duo can do.
And of course, if you can make Widowmaker work, if anyone could do it, you'd like to think it's Kefri, at least on this team. Water just going to be trying to wrap around from the other side, looking to find an opening in this bunker.
And if you want to get a hit scan specialist onto your team, I mean, this is probably one of the few guys that you'd be willing to take on. And Victorious is actually playing this fire, which means Kefri, if he does get a nice shot onto him, that should be a kill.
Yeah, Victorious is having to play very conservatively. This is not a comfortable position for him. And now you see them just kind of forcing PHOENiX to contest the point actively. A third already kind of stolen out by Global Esports Pantheon here. They are starting to take a bigger chunk of damage, especially Sick here. Does lose the mech as well. That's a little rough for them. That's what the McCree can do for you. And
the problem here is Global Esports don't really want to dive in, but they have the Nano now.
They want it anyway, and this has actually opened up Vendetta. He's decided to sit out in the open. Victorious finds N-Shock as well, and that was where they committed that Nano boost too. So Global Esports Pantheon even going in for a late res on Sick. They're actually very much in for a penny, in for a pound here, but I think they've got to drop back. Oh, that's a late catch on Water. He could be in trouble here. Or might just be able to get out.
I was going to say, they don't want to dive in because you are playing into a bunker cop where there is a Bionade, a sleep, also a flashbang. But once you have the nano boost and the 50% damage reduction, maybe then you do want to make an attempt. And they did make an attempt, but it wasn't really good enough for them. Vendetta goes down as big though.
That's what they've been fishing for this entire time. And now they're going to be rotating up to a Rocket Barrage. Victorious nearly has his, but by the time his is available, they're in a less favorable position. Water just needs to stay alive. Victorious with a Nano Boost is looking for an angle to commit it, and Water gets taken out by self-destruct. Kefri gets found out by Victorious, and Ilsubi did also go down in the mix, but it doesn't matter. Victorious had not taken enough damage for it to stick. Medic getting picked late with that Valkyrie having been popped. You got to say it's a good defense so far from PHOENiX.
Well played by Victorious specifically. He shut down Kefri, which already took down 2 members. That was a solo Rocket Barrage, by the way, just for Kefri. He had his name on it, and then went and denied the resurrection from Medic as well. So that immediately pushes back Global Esports, who are still sitting on that one tick that they kind of stole earlier. Secondary dive now, see how this one works.
And they can just kind of keep playing that same way. It was working. Trying to thread the needle on Victorious there. Kefri doesn't quite find it. Water, though, has found Ilsubi, and that makes Victorious vulnerable. They've now kind of cracked it. The one thing that was stopping them from just charging into the bunker is no longer a factor as Water fishes 2 with the Rocket Barrage. What a catch, Donnie. Global Esports Pantheon finally going to unlock this payload.
And you're at the sort of stage where for Kefri, he doesn't need to change here either, because B is a better point for Widowmaker than even A. And for Global Esports, they have this initial pressure. Now you got Water onto Genji as well. It's everybody's favorite heroes. It's everybody's best picks.
Oh, I mean, this is what I wanted to see out of Global Esports Pantheon. This is all I want for Christmas right now. And it's come early.
It's water back on Genji.
Water on Genji, Carefree on Widowmaker. I mean, let's get real. This is the Global Esports Pantheon everyone's been waiting to see.
Let's also get real though. PHOENiX, they are going to try and challenge player for player. Vendetta on the Widow, Victorious on the Genji as well, and it's going to be the aggressive dive from PHOENiX first.
Oh, and it's paid off. They do actually trade though, Medic for Melon. Melon can get raised if Ilsubi can get in safe, but that is going to be tough. And Hyuk actually popped a Primal Rage to stay alive, so PHOENiX, they have a bit of breathing room here.
I want to say Widow Genji is an old sort of composition we saw last season.
Hello.
Backed up by the blue beam, the damage boost coming from both Faras here as well. Carefree trying to take this duel.
Oh, Victorious finds him out, able to get him off the high ground. Rez on back wall though, so Global Esports Pantheon not out of this, but Victorious getting aggressive, looking for Medic, doesn't find it. Water collapses back, takes him out. Now Water is unleashed. Can't find any more targets though. Looking for maybe something, Nano Boost to come out onto Melon. And this has just become an endless scrap and brawl that's really favoring the defense ultimately, just because the cart's not been able to move much. But a great catch by Water in among all this, and Global Esports Pantheon are finally starting to break the defense.
And look at that, Victorious pressured out as well. Water was on Hunter Killer mode. He knew Victorious had a blade as well, so if he could damage him out, then the blade wasn't going to come out. Now the push is starting to really begin for GE Pantheon, and for PHOENiX, still waiting for a response here. Where is this blade?
Oh, there it is, man. This is what we wanted to see. Water goes forward, gets aggressive, finds the defense, finds his counterpart. Carefree outsnipes Vendetta. This is what we're wanting to see out of this team. They're finally starting to hit a stride.
Yep.
Oh, as well.
Oh, man, no remake.
Look at Water go. That's a blade on the back line from Victorious. He actually does find two, but this does feel quite late in the game here. Yeah, the caps come through, and now Victorious on the wrong side. Carefree finds him as well, just for good measure.
You've done it now. You put Carefree on low ping in Korea. He's in the hyperbolic time chamber. He's going to play against all the Korean teams, Korean players on a minimal ping. This is exactly the kind of training he's been waiting for. And now for Global Esports, capping up B, moving into C. A full round of changes for PHOENiX, going down onto Ryan Goats.
And it was looking really good for a moment for PHOENiX. They were actually kind of in a good spot. They'd held out for quite a while on the defense, just kind of brawled it out. Now Global Esports Pantheon are going to make a shift up onto a Goat to their own. I think after Water uses this ultimate, he'll be onto Brigitte. And speaking of, here he goes, good stun up. He only finds Ilsubi before getting picked out. But Global Esports might actually still want this fight. Between the rest of them, they got a lot of ultimates, but losing backwall, they do trade with Pixie, and Hawk gets aggressive, but Sick is low. Medic had to pull back for a moment as well. Self-destruct just kind of in the middle of nowhere on that one. Global Esports, this is a real tight spot for them.
It is interesting because you'd expect them to have pulled back by now, but they are finding a couple of kills. Note that these are actually kills they're getting after ultimates have been used. Primal Rage ended a while now, and they're just snowballing through, trying to collect a couple more. Melon goes down, no Earth Shatter from him.
And that's kind of punished PHOENix's position and Payseal's unwillingness to commit that transcendence in what he felt was not a fight. That was just a repositioning moment. And with that, Global Esports Pantheon are now pressuring a cap.
Cart's nearly there, and the ultimates are on the PHOENiX side, so you're expecting a few to come out now. Where's the grab?
This has been wild. There goes Vendetta throwing out the grab onto the payload, finds SYC out of the mech now, and soon to drop down. There he goes alongside Inhyuk, and with no tank lineup, they do have to flank the retreat. Carefree, he might just go down here. That rally, yeah, no, there we go. Gets to the health pack just in time. Victorious's rally is going to stick a lot better, though.
We gotta have to be careful now for Global Esports. They need to start saving up and banking for that final push. They need a win condition here. We're looking at a very similar stage where we were onto basically both the stages of Lee Jung-Tao, where at the end of the actual maps, Global Esports just didn't have the firepower. They didn't have the fuel remaining to actually push the card across the final distance. Now they need that. They need Carefree's grab. They need this Transcendence to really stick from back wall as well.
The honest swing point of this could actually be Palu's self-destruct. He sends it forward just to force Global Esports back. Nicely blocked, but they did take some hurt. Now they have to reposition. Carefree was isolated. He didn't fall back. He went to the side to avoid the self-destruct. Now they have to not lose anyone else while they wait for him to respawn. No, Inhyuk goes down. This is going to be down to the wire.
And you can't Transcendence here either because you you potentially lose the game. 15 seconds remaining, waiting for a couple more respawns, and Global Esports have to fight right out the doors.
I love this posturing from PHOENiX. They've got an Earth Shatter. They've got a Graviton Surge right at the base gate. No one's even going to get close to that payload. That is excellent. That is playing for your win condition. And that is just backward trying to get close to the payload. That was very nicely handled at the end by PHOENiX.
Yeah, it certainly was, and they had the ability to do so as well. Both the supports were coming up on those support ultimates. They had options even against the Graviton Surge, which we were waiting for. So I think there is a world where Kefri survives on 90% charge, comes back with the Grav still available. The rest of the global esports side is staying alive as well. They go for that final push. Maybe they can outplay the Transcendence. Maybe they can outplay the Sound Barrier and still get it across the line. But it did start to look a little bit shaky there. You did see a final late change from Inhyuk from the Winston onto the Reinhardt. And this is kind of still where we're seeing global esports again, right in those final moments. Just no clear win conditions, no clear ways to really win against PHOENiX when PHOENiX has just built up ults to defend.
And like I said, the swing point, if any, was going to be the self-destruct from POWU. He positioned it so nicely, and it was a forced error out of Global Esports Pantheon. Most of the team retreating, and then Kefri going off to the side. And it's just, again, it's those microcosmic little things that really do make or break those situations.
Speaking of microcosmic things right now, I do kind of feel like Kefri should be wanting to go into a McCree here. Because they were starting to look like they were going to play a bunker comp with the Super McCree, which would have been quite effective. Now changing onto a Winston dive with the Genji Widowmaker from before as well. So this could go a couple of different ways. I mean, they now have a lot of pressure themselves to kind of dive, and they're not in the sort of position where they can just bunker up and wait for PHOENiX to come to them. Enabling Kefri here is going to be quite important, because as a defensive Widowmaker, he's actually got a lot less space to play with than an offensive Widowmaker.
I like that they've actually changed water over onto the Pharah. It'll give them a better kind of pressure to open up Kefri compared to the Genji in this situation.
Yeah. Also double value on medics on the Mercy there as well, because damage boost works for both Kefri and water, especially if you're hitting hit shots like that.
That's what they're just trying to enable here. They pummel out the tanks. They managed to isolate Ilsubi. Now good dive and collapse on Paciol. And this is just what GE Pantheon want to do for the rest of this defense.
Yeah, not a huge amount of kills, just does buy them 30 seconds, does force PHOENiX back a little bit. The Kefri's going to come up on Infrasight, I guess, will be the first ultimate of the game, and that's going to give them some information, but no super impactful ultimates just yet from Global Esports.
PHOENiX, though, even further away from those high-impact ultimates. In fact, closest in charge for them is Paciol on a Transcendence.
That's a hit shot.
It'll be very useful, though, potentially. Kefri does get forced off that position, needs to get out of there. Here we go. Grappling hook and just repositions. Now POWU's in for the dive to follow up Kefri. They're going to try to protect him, but oh, man! While they're still killing him, he fights to threads the needle on those shots. But unfortunately, the rest of the team now in a very tight spot. This is not the fight they wanted here. It's a very late Transcendence to come out of Paciol, but I think it's well worth it because they do kind of have possession on the point.
Well, that's going to stop them from losing any more members. You also got to consider the respawn distance. GE Pantheon is so much more, or rather PHOENiX is so much closer to this, so now they have their full team back. GE Pantheon is still waiting for regroup.
But the moment Kefri's back in, he finds a headshot. Now he gets pressure on Vendetta. Oh, nice stun. Stops him from going over there. Water at least finds one back before going down to his own rockets. Really tough break there. SYC finds Paciol. POWU self-destruct will not find anything. So Global Esports may actually be starting to stabilize here.
We're starting to see now if Vendetta wants to use his grab. I'm going to suspect he does. Oh, not quite yet.
SYC out of the mech, though. That's an opportunity, and he does indeed commit it onto Inhyuk, but Backwall responds with a Transcendence. Medic's trying to get back into this. Water has come into the fight. Vendetta forced around to find Water, finish him off. Now they come back in. Kefri may just fish for something, but should know better than to commit too hard onto this. Yeah, he's done. He's gone down here. This is going to be PHOENiX's point at this point. Now, Global Esports Pantheon scrapped it up for a while and really burned down the clock, but PHOENiX will finally take control of the situation.
And GE Pantheon had a couple moments here, you know, 2 quick headshots from Kefri, goes down himself. It's up until that last respawn from him. Every time he went down, he took somebody with him. And just getting that 1-for-1 value has been very effective for Global Esports. But unfortunately now, you're sort of in the position where you're thinking maybe he goes on to a McCree, maybe it's a little bit more effective, stays on the Widowmaker, which actually does have a lot of value on the speed defense, especially now with the Infrasight as well, staying on the Genji as well for Water. We need to start seeing where this Infrasight does, or rather how it's going to get used here and where they can find the kills.
And there goes Melon. Good open. Nearly caught that one, but not quite. They have stopped the payload movement just for the time being.
And the respect is being given here as well. You see PHOENiX just moving backwards. They know the infra site is available, it's out there. They don't want to be giving away a lot of information. That actually allows Global Esports to regroup on top of the card. Kefri still outputting a lot of pressure though, so PHOENiX still just have to work around this.
And he's, I mean, already nearly back up at the Emperor.
Just a lot of damage.
Just ran out. I mean, look at how much hurt Vendetta took on the rotation. Ilsumi actually has to pop a sound barrier just to make sure they can actually commit to this fight. Victorious isolated. Water pounces on that one. Stays alive as well. Nice rescue from Medic with the Valkyrie running, but that does make this fight that little bit more expensive. PHOENiX commits to self-destruct. Oh, that's a grab in the middle of nowhere. Not sure what went on there, but PHOENiX, they have at least got back onto the payload, but now losing Melon a little bit too late there from Pixie, and backwall also matches. Global Esports still in control of this fight as Kefri finds Ilsumi as well.
And it's just so hard to get on top of these DPSs. Who do you go for? Do you go for Water? Do you go for Kefri? Well, you can't really go for either because for PHOENiX, they're on the ground. You actually have to have good card distance to get up to Kefri in the first place. While a lot of damage being output, Kefri's able to just clean up with body shots. He's still hitting headshots anyway, but he's able to just get that final hit in there, collect those couple of kills, gets that second infra site super quick as well. Vendetta now feels like he has to challenge Kefri in the 1v1 to really get past this point.
She maybe consider. No, he is going to commit to it. Made a half movement back to spawn.
Look at that. Melon has a solo primal range.
Oh boy!
Just to do something about Kefri.
Vendetta did find Kefri out though, you've got to say, if it works, it works. SYC as well gets picked off. Medic does commit a res there, and immediately they start turning things back around, having taken off Victorious. Kefri still goes down a second time, but with Water and Medic still in this, threatening that rocket barrage, PowerWoo out of the mag. They might not even need it to clean up the fight here. They still actually hold on despite a good opener from PHOENiX.
And now at 1 minute 30, you're at the sort of stage where even if PHOENiX complete this cap, they don't have a lot of time to play with on to see. They only have another extra 1 minute and 30. So for Global Esports, they're now in a super winnable position. PHOENiX would have to cap this and then snowball double cap onto C to actually be able to win Hollywood. Global Esports, if they can continue holding this defense, they should win Hollywood now.
Oh, nice catch again with the headshot. Water does trade one back, now two back, or if you count the mech, does trade himself for it, and PHOENiX have a closer respawn, starting to come close to some ultimates as well. Well, Poe would just not quite get back in the mech, but again, res committed to Kefri, and Global Esports are not in a bad spot at all.
You're sort of stage now, less than 1 minute remaining. Look at the ultimates available for PHOENiX, but they're not able to get in positions where it really matters. You saw in a previous fight, despite Pixie using Transcendence, well, wouldn't make a headshot, just doesn't care about that. Vendetta now really starting to flex himself. Water going down is not good news.
Oh, now Victorious finds out Kefri. They've kind of cracked this one open. Medic, he can still commit a res onto Kefri, but I don't think he's going to. This is the kind of momentum they needed, and it just came off the back of two excellent picks from the DPSs.
And it just will now result in another defense for Global Esports in the final sort of section here onto B as we do hit into that overtime, which will inevitably happen now.
Oh, Water went very far forward and a quick smart follow up. This is very aggressive for Victorious though. It doesn't quite get out alive. At least he got back well, made it worthwhile. By the time he pulled out the blade, unfortunately, Water and Medic were dead. This ought to result in a cap now for PHOENiX, and Global Esports know it.
Not necessarily, because we do still have a Transcendence. I expect Global Esports to come out.
They want to commit. Self-destruct onto the card as well, doesn't find anything. Payseal commits Transcendence, but doesn't save Melon. Now Backwall answers with his own. Kefri, though, is the only major damage to come out right now, but
that's a shutdown.
Still finds Ilsumi right as he was channeling that sound barrier. Payseal as well found out, unless PHOENiX gets a rescue here. Oh, it looks like Global Esports, they might have anchored this defense heavily enough. PHOENiX gonna be popped out of this mech here, and he's not on the payload itself. And now the series gonna get tied up.
You see at the end there, potentially a game-winning play, just denying Ilsumi from landing that sound barrier. That could have been the play that changes everything. A good sound barrier on top for the rest of PHOENiX, allowing them to then cap through B, maybe have a chance of snowballing it to C. But that B defense, and even on the A defense, just even consider that a lot of time was wasted or a lot of time was forced away from PHOENiX, despite PHOENiX kind of just wrestling control ever so slowly. You could feel at one stage, you know, a lot of respawners just constantly having to come back for GE Pantheon, that PHOENiX were eventually going to take it, but it took them until about 1 minute something remaining to actually get onto A, and a huge slowdown onto B, and you know something is going very, very well for Global Esports when it is actually PHOENiX that have to respond to Widowmaker with a counter Widowmaker. They don't want to do that. They want to keep playing goats and just roll through the map if possible. When someone is having so much impact in Kefri, just sniping people, doing damage, constantly being a pressure point, when that's happening so effectively, someone has to then swap onto a water maker to deal with them. That's when you know you're doing your job right.
And here's the thing. Look, Victorious actually really held his own there. He got a decent number of good shots onto both Carefree and Water, but the reality is, just thanks to being able to have that defensive position, that higher ground, Global Esports were able to very reliably resurrect Carefree back into fights. And Carefree was really paying that back for them as well. It was a worthwhile investment to do that. They were often turning fights back around off the back of both Carefree and Water by ensuring they stayed in the fights. And the focus on the tanks wasn't there, so they could actually afford to get those DPSs back in the fights and have them turn things around. So you've got to say, it feels like GE Pantheon just really hit their stride there. When they were playing how they wanted to be playing, and that is around their DPSs.
And I want to see if that can continue now heading into the break. When we do come back, though, this opening match, the final half of it will continue. Who's going to take it out? We'll find out after this break.